Thunderstruck finished, and everyone's like, "Yeah, these promos are garbage again."
Yeah. They were like, let's pull them all back in for a week. And they could all leave again now.
You know, I was actually worried about that, and I honestly think that's kind of what's happening. I mean, I don't think they did anything to sustain that intensity that Thunderstruck did.
No, it's... And I suppose it's difficult to do after you've thrown... But also, just give a reason for people to grind the game.
For sure.
Like, there's no... We just got 81 doubles tonight, but, you know, people want something... People want a reason to play, don't they?
Yep, absolutely.
And they're not necessarily giving us one at the moment. Like,
exactly.
I'll play anyway. Do you know what I mean? But
yep.
For a lot of people, it's
Paul, you are fucking struggling with that microphone.
Oh, I'm all flustered now. Because anyway, let's put it out of sight, shall we?
Don't do that.
Hunter's like, I can't take this seriously.
Hunter's like, that microphone better be in front of your face.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Oh, remember what Joe Rogan says: a small fist,
yeah,
in between you and the mic.
Paul's probably got a massive fist, though.
I've got it set on fire, so it shouldn't need to be that close. But
you sound much better now.
What about that?
Oh, that's like some ASMR stuff. Smack your lips a little bit.
Oh, baby. Oh, ASMR stream.
You ready?
Okay. Oh, we started, by the way.
That is a big old cup of tea, anyway.
No wonder it took him so fucking long. Yeah, so Thunderstruck, I feel like it came and went really quickly. I feel like previous iterations of Thunderstruck and other titles was more impactful. Do you guys feel kind of the same? Or is that just me?
I think it came and went because it was decent. I felt like there was something going on all the time, which I think we've missed.
Yep.
And then it came, and now it's gone. It's like it's almost worse than before because we know what we can have. And it's like you don't know what you've got till it's gone. And it doesn't, we can't have Thunderstruck every week, or it just becomes because it just becomes the norm, doesn't it? And then we're bored of that, and then we're complaining.
The alternative norm is dog shit. So let's have the fun norm, right?
Well, I think we always need like a break week or two. Well, not necessarily a break, but something where it's not as intense. Because I have stuff I need to do around the house. We can't have it, we can't have it all the time. But yeah, I think the extremes this week, the extreme has gone is from really one extreme to the other. And it, like even me who's hardcore, like I'm not bothered about jumping on and grinding anything.
Not even for these the Succession promo that didn't get you going?
Do you know what? I've just been on, this is how bad it's got. I've just been on and played some One Nation friendlies.
That's pretty desperate.
It is pretty desperate.
I was like, I don't know what to do on here.
I don't know what to do.
Let's talk about that, because I saw those objectives and I wanted to do those. And then I started building my Argentina squad. And I quickly realized I don't have very many good Argentinians.
Mm-hmm.
So then there's the SBC route. You can go and do the World Tour Argentina SBCs, which require some
Argentina League.
Hard to find Argentina League cards, especially on PC, where it's so easy to rig the market if you're committed to just taking X amount of cards off of it. I'm just not going to pay that many coins to complete these SBCs for like Tagliafico and all these other better cards. So it's kind of just put me off from playing the entire mode altogether, because it's going to cost me so many coins to even compete. My other option is to go get skull fucked every game with shitty ass Argentinians. So they've kind of boxed me out. You know what I mean?
Well, and the funny thing is, no one's going to use that Di Maria long term anyway, right? So it's like
No.
you're going to pay a lot for maybe one card to improve your team for one mode. And it looks like people are crazily enough doing it. You know, I know you get some packs back and stuff, but it's very evident that people are paying them because of the prices, right? Even on console, like I know PC is a different beast, but on console, I think they got up to 4K plus as a whole, which is saying something. But yeah, I just think that it's tricky, like Paul was saying right now, to figure out like how to best use your time. I think on promos like this, when it feels lackluster, like no one is gonna go on the game and grind packs, and there's not even a really way to do that right now anyway. They've really limited that a lot this year in terms of like going through the grind. I saw a thread on Twitter a while back, I forget who put it out, but they were trying to grind a certain player of the month SBC through league SBCs, and they're like, it's impossible. Like they literally just, the outcome was that it was impossible. And then without like a standard upgrade system in place, like even if you commit a ton of time to grinding, SBCs still aren't really attainable at the moment. So I do think people feel a little bit lost in like, okay, I'm going to hop on the game today, but what should I do? I know there's always rivals and weekend league, but we all know that people aren't going to do that every single week.
No doubt.
Yeah, it's people aren't gonna do it every week, and you see that through, like, you talk to people in the Discord, and you see this year there's so many people dropping in and out who last year were continually chatting in the Discord most weeks because they were engaged all the time, and it seems this year people are a lot more. You know, when they're engaged, but like a week like this week, people aren't just gonna fight through it.
It's a good excuse to take a week off. basically.
Yeah, exactly that. If there's other stuff to do, people are just gonna take a week off, and people have been complaining about losing loads of coins, and that sort of really frustrates people, especially if they spent money to get those coins from the store, or your time in trading.
Yeah.
It just frustrates people, and they're like, oh, let's buy a team for weekend league, and you lose 10% or more. It just sucks a lot, doesn't it?
You guys keep going. I got to take this phone call.
It just really takes the edge off. Even if you've had a phenomenal weekend league and you get 200k back from your rewards, and then you think, oh, great, nice, and you go to sell the players that you've just bought, and you've lost 250k.
Yeah, and you know what's really interesting, and I think it's a good topic of discussion anyway, but like with all the compensation packs, right? Like yesterday, it's December 9th when we're recording this, so it would have been the 8th, which is a Sunday. Everyone basically figured out that, if you guys weren't aware, there was like a take a crack player pick pack in the store. It was a 1 of 3 player pick for 75k or some X amount of FIFA points. I don't know off the top of my head. I wouldn't buy them, but yeah, it was essentially 75k for the pack. But Ronaldinho's odds in that pack were very high. They were, from what I could see, somewhere between 5 and 10%. I would say like 8% or so. Which, don't get me wrong, it's not like 50% of people that open that 3 packs were gonna get a Ronaldinho, but a 10% chance of a 7 million coin card is very, very, very high. Usually that would be weighted at like 0.001. So what happened is, every single person that was aware of the glitch or capable of doing it, I really think tried it. So cumulatively on the 3 packs, 3 different rounds of it, they would have spent 225k to try that, to get Ronaldinho. And say 10% of people got him, which is awesome for those 10%. But 90% of people wasted 225k to get garbage, and then it caused a market crash. So yeah, it does feel 100% a little defeating, because like you were saying, Paul, people are losing coins on their weekend league squad, but it's also because of EA incompetence. Like, there's not even a normal market variable to that, other than people are trying these compensation packs, which I think there's been 3 or 4 literally in like a week or two. And it's honestly hard to determine if EA are doing it purposely or not, in my opinion.
I used to think, no chance are they doing this on purpose, but it's getting harder and harder to argue that now, Do you know what I mean? It does seem like, what are you doing? But it is frustrating, Jake. Like, I stayed up and watched UFC this weekend, and cards got low. I thought, oh, I'll buy a team now to play my weekend league on Sunday. Thought these cards are really low; they'll be perfect. Probably make some coins on the cards that I'm buying. No, there was he had a different idea, because, like you say, 225k is a lot of coins for your average player.
Yeah, it is.
And, you know, that might have been all of some people's coins, or people are definitely selling things out of their team to go and get that. So stuff just, nearly everything just fell. And, you know, like you say, it's decent if you get a Ronaldinho, but those coins are gone forever.
Yeah, and I think it's important to say, like, it is almost, I tweeted this too, but I think it's, no matter what viewpoint you have of it, they've made their most money during this not Centurions, but Succession promo for those packs, right? Like, as a fact, no one's buying packs for this promo. This promo is garbage compared to Thunderstruck. Most people would be bleeding coins or money for that. So, like, sometimes you wonder if there's like a cumulative decision, like, we're not selling packs, let's make a mistake, people will load points for the mistake, and who cares if they get a 91? I don't know if that's true, and I think there's probably some legality issues around it. Like,
Yeah, I would think that would
they're
be,
gonna have to really, really watch, probably in an ongoing way, how much this is occurring, because it does look intentional at this point, which I think is a really, really, really bad thing for PR. And if someone can prove that it was intentional, they're in huge trouble. Like, that's a legal issue, right? That's just purposeful false marketing.
Mets, can you weigh on that? Do you think, is that correct? Would that be considered illegal?
Well, whether it's illegal or whatnot is one thing, but what it does is it opens up a massive gap whereby people who have bought FIFA points on credit cards and whatever could very easily turn to their card providers and go, I'm not getting what I'm expecting to get from that purchase. I want my money back. And there's a very strong argument for doing that. And
That makes sense.
I did the exact same thing last year when we had the Messi debacle during Team of the Year. I spent £180 on packs. After they pulled that shit, I charged it back because they created a false equivalence, essentially, whereby people who bought in after a certain time were getting far less in return for that purchase than people who purchased it like the minute it went live. So it was a load of shit. So they basically pulled the rug out from underneath people. And that's kind of what they keep on doing, whether it's accidentally or otherwise. And I've spoken to you about this, Hunter, where I have my theory as to why stuff like contracts have been taken out of the game. It's because people, whether they wanted or not, were paying for those contracts as content that they were getting and paid for packs. And the amount of times people are quitting out of games, they're not getting what they paid for, because they're supposed to, a contract's supposed to give you 7 or 11 full matches in the game, and quite often not, you score a goal, someone bombs out on you, and that's different than the item you thought you were purchasing or as part of a purchase. And you know, it served very little value to EA other than a little bit of drip that they would get off the market in terms of coins when people actually needed to buy them occasionally. So in order to protect themselves, they've just taken them out. So they've solved one issue over there, but then these mess ups with the description of items and packs, you are opening loopholes up, whether people have the amount of effort required to jump through the hoops a credit card company is going to want to resolve that in your favor is a different matter. But if you're dropping a shitload of points during Team of the Year, which is not too far away now, and they pull something like that, I would strongly recommend that you look at that and make sure that you get what you think you're buying, or at least the opportunity to get what you think you're buying, because quite frankly, very few of us are going to get that Team of the Year card we want. But that's not the reason why it's an issue. It's making sure there's a level playing field for everyone who partakes in a particular run of packs, like what happened with Messi last year, that kind of thing. And I think that's what Jake's alluding to. Legal, no, but creates issues elsewhere that could bite EA in the backside in the long run.
But if,
So-
if you could prove they were doing it intentionally, I wonder.
Yeah,
is
I'm
it
just not
illegal?
sure how you would do that though, Jake. But yeah, you're
Sure.
absolutely right.
You would
Yeah.
have to have somebody on the inside, I guess.
Right,
but-
right. I just I just figure with enough misses, like organizations get curious, right? Like, okay, one mess up is fair. 4 in a week? Well, this is starting to look kind of suspicious.
Yeah. And then that
Well,
organization who gets
incompetence
suspicious.
at the absolute lowest level, right? Whether there's a greater conspiracy going on, I'm not sure we would ever be able to find that out. But
Yeah. I would
the
just hope they get like investigated. I really do.
the frequency in which it happens now is pretty ridiculous, to be honest.
Yeah. We had a period last year, didn't we? I can't remember where it was.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And there was the whole intern thing. The interns are running the show. And we went through a period, I think it was like 3 weeks, where
Yep.
it was like at least every week, sometimes 2 and 3 times in a weekend. And you're like, how does that keep happening? Because, any other workplace, somebody starts making mistakes, your boss is on your ass like, look, come on. Once it's happened, now it's happened again. Let's get this together, guys. And that continues to happen. It's like people would get fired in any other workplace if you just kept fucking up. Because effectively, it's not just the finance of it or affecting the power curve. It's the reputation of the company as well, isn't it?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's already in the dumps of fire. It's
Yeah.
not going to lose much there nowadays.
I'm pretty sure EA has been one of the most hated companies in the world for years.
And
Oh, big time.
that's one of the reasons why, isn't it, that these mistakes keep happening.
I don't think it's to do with that, but it's just another reason to not big up EA in a positive way. Unfortunately, it's more to do with how they treat their staff and how they have an awful habit of buying up like developer teams and then shutting them down because they can't get a project off the ground, and stupid shit. Like the amount of like cool franchises they've destroyed over the years is unacceptable. It's more to do with stuff like that. But this level of incompetence with the in-game content's just silly at this point. And if you're gonna like give stuff like that to interns, and people need to learn on the job, give them Team of the Week or something to fuck around with. Don't give them like the big money-making promo of that week. There's too much on the line to hand that over to an intern, and way too much pressure and responsibility.
Give them Come to Ball Submaricana or whatever the fuck it's called. Give them that one.
Yeah.
Submaricana.
And I think the other thing too that can be said from all this too is like, honestly, like maybe it's just indication to EA or to companies that oversee them, again legally, is they're releasing packs too frequently where they can't even quality control them. Like the one today that came out that might be a mistake in Chinese is brand new. It's like so random. They're like making things up for packs, right? Like a 90 or lower icon and a 86 or under hero, past and present. It's like a bunch of trash in a pack. And they just put it out for 475K. And they definitely didn't quality control it enough if there's language issues. And that's a brand new pack. So it's telling me that they're thinking of pack ideas more than they're checking them.
Yeah. I saw somebody say today how they're using AI to translate and then just not checking it or whatever, but it
my God.
really does need to be addressed, because the language stuff surely is not that difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was years ago, but like when Jamie first got hired for Foot, like I know for a fact the team working on content in Foot was like 8 people. I could find the exact number. It was 8 to 10 though. Like on $1 billion game, like they're so understaffed for what they're doing that it's insanity. Like I feel like they could have a team of 30 to 50 people for this and need one too. They're so not paying and understaffed for how big this game is. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And
Well, they are growing apparently.
Yeah, that's good. They should be. They need to keep filling in.
But I did want to go back to what you were talking about, Mets, as far as the loans or the contracts go. So let's say, for example, there's a lot of these packs in the store now and have been where there's big packs. They have like loan player picks. Say I get a loan player pick for 10 games. I go into a game of Rivals. Somebody sees that I have a loan. They quit
They
out.
bomb out.
I lose
so
the
you're not
contract.
getting what you paid for.
So now I can go get my money back.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you
You are
listening,
not
folks?
getting what is promised to you as part of the content in the pack that you've used real money to purchase. I mean, it's one thing when it's in-game currency, that would still suck, right?
Yeah.
But when you've actually paid hard cash for something and you don't get to use it to the full, you've clearly got an opening there to go to your credit card company and say, I didn't get what I paid for.
Yeah.
100%.
And is that a thing that can be done worldwide, or is that just Europe?
I mean, generally, yes. But what you're going to be doing is you're going to be dealing with the card issuer. So, if you've got a Barclay card in the UK or a Virgin credit card or whatever, it's not like a going to Visa or MasterCard directly. So they're going to be under slightly different rule sets. But let's say the EU governs what you can and can't do in relation to consumer rights in Europe for the most part, and the UK tends to still follow that lead, but it'll be slightly different in America, slightly different in Asia. But generally speaking, they're going to have you back on most things. But what you're going to have to do is write up a fairly convincing case as to why you think you should get your money back. Like I had to write, a good few paragraphs as to what happened with Messi last year. And basically I tried to blind them in science because I know they're not going to understand what I'm talking about. Provide times and dates which you purchase things, the value of them, and then they go away and decide if you should get your money back or not. And they're generally in the habit of siding with their customers. They want to protect you and keep you happy. So then the burden of proof would be on EA or Xbox or PSN to counter that as part of their investigation. And most of them won't bother because it's not enough value in it to write up an investigation to counter Matt's charge back of 80 quid or whatever. They'll just write it off and go, yeah, whatever. But if you went to Xbox and say, I didn't get what I thought I was getting, they'd just tell you to fuck off. But that's why when you're buying stuff like FIFA points, always use a credit card and don't buy it direct from the Xbox, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Or PlayStation. As go through the EA client in the game, use your credit card, and go to them when you've got an issue. Don't go to Xbox or PlayStation because I'm sure they get this shit all the time and they're not going to look at it in your favor whatsoever.
Or just don't buy them.
Or just don't buy them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just kind of what my big message is right now, because it's like a lot of the bigger accounts on Twitter, I think sadly, are like the first to promote these compensation issues. And it's like, if people are adding actual dollars to buy it and not recouping the money, as Matt says there, EA is just winning no matter what. Like EA is just taking a dub of you buying 3,500 FIFA points you would have never bought before. You're still probably like, I saw a compensation for this 91 plus pack come in Discord and on Twitter. Berezi was so crazy popular, man. Like they definitely weighted it like it was a compensation pack. And if you went and ran to add points to it, it's like kind of like these bigger accounts like Matt, HD, and even did a video on the Ronaldinho stuff. It's like you're kind of doing people a disservice if they're running to load up their card for these mistakes in a way, if that makes sense.
Oh, there's an awful compensation culture that's grown around the game in the last couple of years where people, the first thing they're doing when a new pack comes out or promo is they're looking for something to trip EA up over. Now, okay, it's all well and good to hold them to account for their mistakes. They shouldn't be doing it and certainly shouldn't be doing it in the frequency that they do it. But the opportunistic culture that's grown around this game is quite frankly awful. And what we're talking about here in relation to chargebacks, this isn't like some opportunity to go and like have your cake and eat it. This is a case of like, if you think you've genuinely been done out of the value of your credit card purchase, you should speak to your credit card company about it, and they will make you jump through hoops to get it, but you might decide that's worth your while or not, as the case may be. But all this opening an SBC or whatever just to hopefully get something thrown back your way from EA, it just really reflects poorly on the community and where it's at. Unfortunately, we are quite a scummy community of players, unfortunately.
And the thing is as well, when you look at a lot of these compensations, I look at some of them and I think, man, that pack, that 450k pack would have to be 100K for me to even think about doing that. Like, I see some and I'm like, surely people are not spending the hard-earned coins with a chance of it, because with the compensation 3 times over, I still probably wouldn't open that. And I suppose if you're opening packs of FC points anyway, or coins, it's like people do it. But sometimes I think people just get caught up in the whole, they see it they're on a stream, people start talking about this compensation, and it just, people think it's that fear of missing out again, and people think, whoa, I want this compensation too, so I'm gonna go. Did you say, Jake, that the 91 plus compensations being given out now?
Yeah. From what I can see, at least it was coming in this morning. I think around like 11 a.m. UK or so, it started to push in through accounts slowly. But I saw a bunch of it in Discord. Yeah, for sure.
Mostly terrible.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the other thing too, Paul. Like in regards to what you were saying, I think is like when people say like, look at the compensation, you have again all these big accounts on Twitter and stuff saying like there's 22 out of 28 possible dubs, and it's like the only way it's a W is if that card is going to start in your main 11. Really, like I think they look at it in value, right? Like 450K plus in value is 22 cards, but like since icons are rare, they hold a high price. But there's not many 91 plus center backs that are better than Gold VVD, who's 150K. Like I don't like that culture either of like there's 28 W's in this pack. It's like that's worth more than the value of the pack, but I wouldn't necessarily call that a W for 99% of our accounts right now, because people that play well and use their coins well should have a relatively good team, like a video player of the month. He's going to be pretty hard to beat in terms of quality, right? Like there's not going to be many people switching him out or an Mbappe out of a team. So I don't think the dubs are as accurate. And I remember too, like we were saying, Matt, where people were scummy. Like I think it was during the Trackstars promo. Do you guys remember that there was like a potential compensation where they removed like positions of players?
Mm-hmm.
You guys remember that?
I do, yeah.
And I think it got pretty viral, and like people are like, compensation potential. They removed right wing and left wing off this card, and I posted personally because I'm like, I don't think they're going to do compensation for that. These are like alternative roles. I don't see anything displayed hugely that they're going to have them all for all times. People did that because like I think last year, Ture and Snyder were listed with the wrong leagues, and EA actually compensated every single time you sold them. So people got like 500 million coins in one case.
Fucking Christ.
Because they bought Ture, sold Ture, bought, sold till they were on 0 coins, and they compensated every single sale, which is insanity. So people were trying to do the same with Trackstars. It cost them a lot of coins to take that risk in the first place, but if they actually compensated, they were looking at 50 to 100 million coins, which is, of course, another massive issue in itself. Lowers the coin value, inflates the market, same PC issues as the PC glitch. But I just wanted to point that out because that was like a money-hungry, scummy community move of trying to get compensation when it wasn't even due, and people were going nuts on it.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
It's insane.
You guys are fucking terrible.
It's literally insane, man. Because people would finish out that with 100 to 500 million coins. I know people that were trying to get that cumulative amount from it.
Mm.
Speaking of scummy, I did do that last year with Schneider. I didn't buy loads. I bought a few. But this year, when it came to that Trackstars
problem, dude.
When it came to that Trackstars one, I was like, this is a stretch. I didn't go nowhere near that. I was like, that's
Paul.
I never thought they were gonna pay out on that.
Hey, look, man, it's been good, but we're letting you go.
You're booted.
No problem. If I do it again,
scummy bastard.
If I do it again,
yeah, you get one
I will
strike.
make sure it's definitely guaranteed that they're going to pay out. Okay.
Send me some of those coins too. Let's move on though. We got a bunch of content over this last week. I actually like the Succession promo. I'm not saying I like it better than Thunderstruck, but I like what it's in there because there was some good MLS cards, and that's kind of where I'm focusing on with Evos.
Mm-hmm.
I did the Giroud SPC. I loved him. And the next day they came out with the +1 Evo, which made him even better.
For sure.
So that's a great value card. If you just need a bench player, what was it, like 40K or something?
Yep.
You can turn him into an 87 for free. Like, game
Little mini
changer off the
Drogba.
bench. Yeah. Yeah. He moves so much better than you would expect for like a what is he, like 6'3" or something? But what else have you guys tried this week that was new that you enjoyed, Matt?
Not a lot. I've been playing my squad battles to get the token I need for Raspadori and working on Evos, but that's about it, quite frankly, for me this week. As we were alluding to earlier on, I thought this is just a promotion I can just sort of sleep through, quite frankly, after putting a lot of effort into Thunderstruck with SBCs and stuff like that. I think the thing that disappoints me about this, and not to keep on going down the negative trail, is why we got so many promos that are very MLS, and that's both for men's and women's, leaning on that side, and so little like Serie A as an example. Yeah, we've got Marcus Thuram, but he's the only one as far as I'm aware. And then what was it Track Stars before Thunderstruck, and there was no Serie A on that whatsoever. I'm really, really disappointed why they keep doing this. It really pisses me off.
Well, so
It's like they're relegating Serie A to like a minor league all of a sudden, which, you know, it's always been one of the more favourable like non-meta leagues, for lack of a better term, and it's really getting poor representation this year, which is disappointing.
I do think that has a lot to do with the timing of NWSL finish and MLS. Like NWSL, they finished, I think, in November, and MLS, we just got the MLS Cup final. LA Galaxy
Yeah, but
won.
with respect, no one gives a fuck about MLS.
There's a lot of US people that give a fuck about it, and I get it. They're not as
in the
big as
game.
Europe.
You don't see
but
people rocking MLS players other than you, Hunter. It's
what I'm
just-
saying is, I think we're going to see now a lot less of that shit that you don't like, and more of the shit that you do like as we get closer and into the thick of Serie A, Premier League.
I'm not saying they shouldn't do any MLS. Like,
No,
but
it's been very
a minor
MLS.
league in the grand scheme of things. You should have
Yeah.
like one player for
It's
the
been heavy
women's and
MLS.
the men's,
You're not
not
wrong.
like 3 or 4. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nuts.
For a not so popular league, they have gotten a lot of content, which I'm thankful for, but I can understand where 9 out of other 10 players are annoyed.
I think from EA's standpoint as well, if you're trying to break into that market or like trying to grow that market, which is a huge market, isn't it? You know, a small percentage of that, it's big for them, isn't it? So
I'm sure there's more people in the United States watch Premier League than MLS. There's lots of football fans. You just don't need to shove MLS content down the throat, because I don't think they want it, quite frankly.
Yeah, as someone who also lives in the US, I would say that it's definitely getting a push, but EA just kind of do this too, like regardless of what league it actually is. Whenever they're doing like a smaller league, they like to do a set of cards together so they can actually link. So like when I saw this Succession and Giroud, they put in very clearly the cards to give him links, because they wouldn't drop that SBC if he was like unlinkable. They do that a lot. You saw that already with NWSL too, right? They dropped a Morgan, didn't have links, made links for her. You're seeing that with MLS, made links for Giroud. If you want him, well, you got that Yoshida center back. You got Berkey as a goalkeeper. Like, you can start to have some links available. Messi in the promo. And I'm assuming that the next promo, kind of like Hunter was saying, will probably feature another league. Like, maybe they're going to start pushing Eredivisie more now. Or I think they specifically do that on the smaller side. I didn't get what you're saying on top side for Serie A or La Liga. But yeah, I consider that there's smaller leagues featured in promo. I could go back a few weeks, but I'm
There was
pretty
no
sure they
Serie
do that.
A in FC Pro either, as an example.
Yeah,
I don't get it. Like,
yeah, I
multiple
agree. They should
Turkish
be more
league,
diversified.
more MLS. It's just like, what the fuck are you doing?
They did
It's
go
crazy.
pretty heavy Serie A early on though, didn't they? With
Yeah.
Thuram.
Yeah, they did. Kefram Turam.
Yeah, but that was just
Marcus
player of
Thuram.
the month stuff. It's like that's in their
Bremer.
schedule.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was
They
always
did a
going to
lot.
happen. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
need
even
some
these
Saudi
three.
league is what I need. I need some Saudi league that's not the usual
Ugh.
suspects. Something a bit different. Just
Nobody wants that.
Anyway,
somebody needs
that was
to.
my thoughts on on Ultimate Succession. I'm
Hen
sure
yeah.
someone else would like
Hen
to
and
say
Lordy.
something.
Well,
Give
and
me
then they
one of
did like
those.
that's another good example, right? They did Talisca and Aubameyang together as SPCs, right? Those are just
Yeah.
small examples that I think of the top of my head for Saudi, right? Because they're not going to drop an Abba and not have links for him. So I would just keep watching, and they're going to switch the smaller leagues at the least. I get what you're saying about Syria, but smaller leagues they always do this.
Does anybody actually watch Saudi League football?
Not
No,
even
they said
Saudis
viewership's
watch
awful
Saudi
on
League
it.
football.
No, you get clips, don't you, of goals on Twitter. I think that's the only sound. Even people there, they only get like 7 people per game actually going to watch, don't they? You see the stadiums, and a lot of them are empty, aren't they?
It just seems like a really poor investment on their part. Like, didn't they offer Vinicius like $1 billion or some shit? Like, you're never going to get that investment back.
But they're not.
I guess when you got
bothered.
Saudi money, it doesn't
They've
matter.
got money like water, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? It's just constantly coming out of the ground, so it's irrelevant, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah, there is like a lot of speculation. They do a lot of like money laundering through that, which makes sense to me. I mean, it would be super hard to track all those expenses accurately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, just talking about this has nothing to do with foot, and it might be a good sidebar. But did y'all hear about the Hawk Tua meme coin?
Yep.
I did, yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I did.
It sounds like there might be some
Oh,
legal
she's in
ramifications in there. What's that, Matt?
Time. She's in the shit.
Yeah.
And she's flushed quite a promising career out of nowhere down the toilet.
And I didn't know this. I listened to a podcast earlier. She's actually on Jake Paul's platform.
Yeah, like the better
Yeah,
platform.
yeah. I didn't know that. I'm not saying
Yeah.
he's implicated, but just another twist.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that someone like her is getting all these repercussions, but someone like I actually have talked about this extensively. Like, I can't believe like Logan Paul is able to be as famous as he is for what he's done. Like, I can't believe it. People treat him like he's some kind of icon, and the dude's recorded a body in a forest, and then meme coin people, and it's proven. Like, he's not a good human being, and it's proven. And like, usually most people would be canceled for that. One of the two things. Not both
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, I watched the CoffeeZilla thing last year when they investigated those animal coins, whatever it was that he did, and man, it was blatant. Like, not even it wasn't even like, oh well, maybe he did, maybe it's just a witch hunt, But it was just like, no, this guy's like had people's pants down, apologized, says, "Don't worry, guys, we're gonna fix it." And just said, fuck off. People just forget. Who wants a bottle of Prime?
Lunchly. Here's my Lunchly now. It's like, and that's another thing I don't get too is like, why these already like multimillionaires are doing like a Lunchables knockoff. Like, why do they need to create moldy cheese after they're worth $20 million a year? Like, just let people like be entrepreneurs that are meant to be. Stop putting your name on things you don't care about.
I hate that my kids love Prime.
The truth comes out. Most kids do.
Oh,
They banned it in some schools in
can I
America.
get some Prime? No.
It's that popular. They banned it in some schools around us.
So
well,
stupid.
In the UK at one point, you'll have seen it about. People were paying ridiculous amounts for one bottle. Like, not
I saw that when it
like
came
50 quid, 100 quid for a bottle of Prime.
I want to play these people in Foot Champs. Where are these people at?
Yeah.
They're
These are
playing
the
Rush.
people who are buying compensation packs.
They are playing Rush. You're not wrong. Although, we need to talk about that because that's a good segue. I'm glad we did that. Foot Weekly podcast, they had a pretty monumental episode last week, or earlier this week, I guess. Well, no, last week. Today's Monday. With Tom Kalefi. He's one of the longest gameplay producers that he's been there the longest amount of time that I can recall, like, over 10 years. Did you guys listen to that? I know Mets, Paul, you did. Jake, did you get a chance to listen to that?
I haven't listened to the full thing, but I did catch some recordings of his big conversation pieces. I saw clips of it, but I want to listen to the whole thing. I think that's really bold of him to even try.
Yeah, but I think it was necessary, and I think they were starting to feel the pressure of a frustrated community, and maybe they were seeing it in the numbers for them to come on and be transparent, which good. We need more of this, and people enjoyed it. You know what I mean? Like people legitimately were looking forward for information because the pitch notes just ain't it. It's not.
The fact that EA's own Twitter account shared it as well, there's definitely a concerted effort to try and peel back some of the veil as to the stuff they keep behind the scenes in previous years. That's
they did share it, the main
resulted in
account.
so much frustration.
Yeah.
The main account.
Wow, that's really
tweeted it out,
impressive. I gotta give them some credit. See, credit where it's due. I don't want to hate them. They can try.
Yeah.
No.
That's great. That's seriously a great thing. They should do panels. I literally think they should do panels like with pro players, as long as they could even sign like disclosures to not be aggressive and stuff. And if you're looking for information, I think you have every single right to ask legitimate questions.
Yeah. So go ahead, Paul.
I thought the podcast came across really well, and I think when you can get behind somebody's vision, that's what I got from it the most. Like that, these guys are passionate about the game. They are really trying to do something and build something and change something. Because he said on there that the old system, it basically said it was shit, without saying it was shit. That it didn't work. That people, players didn't do things that you'd want them to do or expect them to do. And that was one of the real sort of positives that I took out there, that these guys are passionate, do have a vision, which I knew anyway, but it's nice to sort of have that confirmed in it, that you're like, oh, right, this is where we're going with this game. I know it's not exactly there now, but this is the start of something, hopefully, loads better.
Yeah, the clip that I saw too, I thought it was really cool. If you are in foot for longevity, like if you plan to play it a long time, the truth of the matter is he did kind of say like it's a work in progress, right? Like this is a new huge system. We're going to take in what you have to say. Like they never said this is a perfect product, which we all know it's not, but I don't know. I feel like them just being transparent about that, and they're right. They probably put in huge layers of things to start the IQ system. But he said, like, we're going to listen to feedback, and this is not the final version. We have years of this left, so I don't know.
Yeah. And one of the things that really stood out to me was when they first started talking, and I took notes as I was listening so that I could remember what I wanted to say on the podcast because I'm weird. But he was talking about how he basically admitted in previous versions of the game how they had difficulty fixing certain issues in the game, whether they be passing or kickoff glitches, or he didn't go into specifics, but he said people were often using similar formations and setups. And that's true. People are always going to use the meta formations. Like for the last, 3 or 4 years, 4-2-3-1 is like bread and butter. That's your vanilla. That's what you use when you're trying to be defensive, whatever. But he was saying now people are using more formations. They're doing different things because of this IQ system. And I kind of wanted to call bullshit on that because the first quarter of the game, you're going to see that, I feel like, especially with this new system people are experimenting. I want to see what it looks like 2 months from now. Once we're dead, in the heat of this game, I want to see how many different formations are being used and see if it really is this revolutionary IQ system. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to say it too. And I think that has been found, right? Like 4-4-2 was the beast for a while, then it switched to 4-4-1-1 by pros. And now they updated like roles or something. They added in a bunch. And I think like the CDM formations are becoming more popular. So people are just adjusting to what's meta as we go.
Yeah. He did make a comment though about the player roles. And I've seen a lot of people that say that player roles don't even do anything, that they're pointless, which I could not disagree more. After kind of just really focusing on what the players are doing on the pitch. But he mentioned how roles complement one another. So even if this person has a plus, if you're playing that person in a role that might overlap with another person, they'll occupy the same space. You're going to have a hard time creating things. So it almost seems like, whatever you do around that person will also impact what that player is doing off the ball. Is this something that you have seen in your gameplay, Matt?
I haven't played enough since that podcast come out to make an affirmative statement on that, yes or no, but it makes total sense to me that I think one of the reasons why there was a lot of kickback against this whole new IQ system when the game first came out is that people were making some wild systems with very exaggerated moves in terms of how they laid their teams out and roles that they assigned to people, and then they wondered why it was all broken and didn't work the way they expected it to. I think the majority of your players should probably have fairly basic commands set, and then you should have one or two that really push the envelope. Like they've talked about how they're introducing this classic 10 and things like that into the new system going forward. Role that we've been short of in Ultimate Team over the years. But your whole team should be based around that. That's your star man, and you need to cater towards that one role at that point. If you've got a Dino or a Bobby Charlton or someone that can play in that role, as an example, it's your whole system should be around supporting that one player, not I've got 11 individuals and I need them to do magical things. And I think that's where a lot of people have been building tactics and criticizing IQ towards the beginning of the game went wrong. The best thing that came out of that podcast chat was that it quite firmly laid down the importance of these, how they're likely to put multipliers in terms of like chemistry and stats on cards, depending on how you use them, how they interact with each other, and that it is relevant. And the guy who was guesting on the show explained in intimate detail as to how that works, but how it is still a work in progress, as Jake was saying. This was the one disappointing thing that came out for me. Fair play to the Foot Weekly guys for grilling him a little bit as to criticisms from the community and whatnot. I think they had to balance a very fine line between creating a welcoming and safe environment for him to come onto the show and have a chat and be prepared to lay bare some of the secrets of the game, and also critique it just a little bit as per what the community would expect. But what he basically did admit to, whether he meant to or not, is that with introduction of IQ this year, this is an unfinished new element to the game.
Yeah.
And we're essentially paying for a full price AAA finished title and basically playing a beta. That's the bit that infuriated me about this. And it's no different to what I expected, but to hear it out loud in an unapologetic manner really frustrated me. You're not going to see like the fruits of this for 2 or 3 more years to come. They're going to be constantly tweaking this year. They'll be doing it next year. And maybe by FC 27, 28, this will be like the fully laid out, perfectly functioning version of what their vision was. But in the meantime, we've got to suck it up and deal with all the bullshit that happens in between. And it goes without saying that a lot of people bought this game and were not asked whether they were willing participants in a beta for the cost of 70, 80 pounds or whatever it is they've paid, or whatever the dollar equivalent is, to test this new piece of the game system for them whilst they kind of figure it out on the fly. That was super frustrating. Now, I'm on board with what they're trying to do. I think in the long run, this is going to provide a better gameplay experience for everyone, and we should be excited about it. But man, not being able to produce a not even close to finished iteration of this for the release of this game, I think is very poor. But it's indicative of where the gaming industry is at the moment, where they're allowed or let off the hook for introducing half-baked new features into games. And we just kind of have to deal with it as a community as best we can, whilst they still get the money they expect to get from us every year. I think that's very unfair, but that is the reality of where we're at. And that was the big reveal from that conversation for me.
Yeah.
That's
I guess
well said.
the other alternative to that would be, I mean, I guess it's the necessity for them to sell a new title every year, right? If this game were free to play like Warzone, it'd be an easier pill to swallow, right? But so you're saying they should have taken the extra time, take another 2-3 years to perfect this, and in the meantime, just do what they've been doing, is come up with some more buzzwords like hypermotion, super V, or whatever the fuck,
to determine whether what they're trying to do is working or not, and then tweak it accordingly. And you're okay to a point doing that in a game like Warzone, as an example, where you're not there isn't a barrier to entry of like $100 or whatever.
Right.
And we're forcing people to basically pay another $100 every 12 months. Warzone's free and it's free forever. You spend on cosmetics, whatever you want. It's great.
Yeah.
By the
And I
time
think
we get to the end of the SC25 game cycle, they'll have just about put the finishing touches to this game aside from IQ, which we're talking about at the moment. And then we're going to get forced to quit and pay another $100 to play the next one. That's the cause of the issue. It's like they really, if they want to stretch out development of these new key game features over many years, the game needs to be free to play. Encourage people as much as you want to spend in your store and all that good stuff. I'm not against that, never have been. People can do what they want with their own money. But when you're not explaining, and they never did really until this podcast came out in the last week, how IQ worked to that degree,
Yeah.
and that didn't make people that they were a participant in a beta effectively, whilst paying the cost of a brand new game. I think that's really dangerous grounds to be walking on, quite frankly. And again, as we were saying before, I think anyone would have quite a solid grounds to go to their credit card company and say, I haven't been getting what I thought I was getting and I want my money back.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I think that is really well said. I think there's a lot of key points in there that, I mean, for one thing, I didn't know about, but the way you described the IQ system working around a certain player or bouncing off each other, I don't think people view the IQ system as that currently in the current state. And I think that's a long-term vision, which would be epic, right? Then you get that uniqueness, right? Like I have Giroud and I'm going to cater everything around him because he's my favorite player right now. But that's not what's happening. They're building generic formations that any player slot in pretty much. So the long-term vision on it is actually really good. And
Agreed.
then, like you said about the beta version, like I don't think like EA, for one thing, they don't usually do goodwill gestures in general, but I actually think at times our player base can be quite simple to please. Like they wouldn't have even had to make it free this year, but if they said like, hey, it's $30 and $60, it's $60 for the Ultimate Edition, like still $60, right? But we know you're sampling and testing the IQ system for the first year. We know it's going to be imperfect and we're going to adjust as we go. Sorry about that, but we're here to like make this game better long term for you. And they would have to admit it in front, right? But it's something that I think people would get behind. Like if it's just transparency and saying like this is a first year of a new overhaul that's really going to improve your favorite football game, I think people would sign on to that, and I believe that to be true.
Yeah.
I agree. I think as well, like if you're saying that to people, people have got some hope for the future as well, aren't they? So they're like, whoa, all this shit that's going on and these things we're struggling with, that's fine. They've told us that. But it's going to get better. It's going to get better. And, like you say, people are easily pleased if they're real with you and say, look, this is it. We only decided to do sort of overhaul this. I think he said at the beginning of 23, and they made the decision. Like, this is going to make the game so much more fun going forward. But there you go. We'll make the game half price. I know Johanna's laughing.
Shareholder expectations would never
Yeah,
allow that to
exactly.
happen,
But,
unfortunately.
Throw a
Yeah.
few more lightning rounds out there or something. Just, you'll cover it. You'll be fine. You'll be
Yeah.
fine.
Throw some icon packs in there, hero packs.
Little wrong Chinese description.
Yeah,
Yes.
that'll cover it. Yeah. I'll throw some more player picks out there. That'll cover it for the year.
I did want to cover while we were on it. I was, like I said, taking notes, and a lot of the times I feel like we got somewhat of an answer, but it was still very vague. Like there was oftentimes he would say, well, it's tricky, or it's tricky. It's tricky for this because it's tricky for that. And it's like, okay, you're not telling me a whole lot, but he did drop some breadcrumbs. Like he did say like runs are like, quote, ranked. So like if you have a plus player, he's more likely to make, I'm just using this as like a number 1 ranked run. Whereas if you had a plus, he might make a 1, but he's probably going to make a 2 or a 3. And if you have just a regular player in position, he's going to make 4s and 5s, maybe the occasional 1. But that's the way it sounded to me.
Yeah.
And the same thing with like positioning, the speed of which players react to things. So if someone's caught offside, if they're plus, like a poacher plus, they're more likely to get back onside quicker than somebody who is not a plus or just a
which
plus.
makes sense. He also did a good job of explaining away some of the weird video clips that we've seen where players, like
Run
attackers are
backwards.
running
That was doing my fucking
sideways,
head in.
backwards, just making bizarre runs, and that's because of the way that their tactics are designed. He's got too many people trying to attack the same space, so they have to try and find their own unique path to doing what the command is that they've been given. And it's like, that's interesting and kind of makes sense, but we never had that before this year. Why is that suddenly like a thing now?
And not only that, Matt, but why don't we know about it? Like, why are we
Sure,
like,
yeah,
like
100%.
no one's like, oh yeah, I have too many attacking players. I'll just change that. People are like, why are my players sprinting backwards?
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Why is
did a
he
very
running off
poor
the
job
pitch?
of explaining like, IQ and its ramifications on basic stuff that we're used to. In the first few weeks of this game, it was basically nothing.
Yeah.
This has revealed a whole lot, some good, some not so good. I think, if they're allowed to complete their vision, this will be really good for the game in the long run, but there's a lot of ground to go over before we get there, unfortunately. And we may find that this year's game is ultimately quite frustrating. Next year's game could be frustrating as well. And in a year or two's time, we might get the game that we hope we're getting based off the vision that's been laid out as per this podcast. It's just, it doesn't sit great with me that we are play testing for them at a very high premium, basically.
We're paying
And
them
if
to
it
play
was free,
test.
it would be a different story.
For
Yeah.
sure.
And he also talked about, like, I think they asked him the question about attacking positioning. How does that play into, let's say, if someone's a plus or a plus or just a regular, just in position? So basically, if someone, let's say, is 99 attacking positioning, if they're just in a regular role with no plus assigned to them, he made it sound like it would be like 80%. So you would get 80% of that 99, which would put you about 80 attacking positioning. But if you had a plus, he made it sound like it would go to 90 attack position. And if you had a plus and your guy had 99 attack positioning, he would get 99 attack positioning in that role. I don't necessarily like that because you're not necessarily making the player better. You're just making him perform as he's intended in his attributes if you use plus, right? And if you don't, you're kind of being penalized for it. Even though he's in position with chemistry, you're still being penalized because you don't have that designation on the card. That is, to me, is what's going to make this game more of a gimmick than anything else, because you're going to have players only wanting pluses once
Yeah.
they figure it out.
I
Yeah,
thought
that's
that. I thought, well, do you then just buy a worse player?
Yeah.
With plus?
No.
And then it's, do you know what I would like? I would like more of these podcasts, I think.
For sure.
Like,
We can't
fucking
get
hell,
them
it's
on,
EA
Paul. There's no
Sports. Make
chance.
your own podcast. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
they should.
Foot Weekly do a great job, so bring guys on there regularly, or just do a foot podcast every week or every, EA, go do it. Bring some guys in from the community to ask the questions. Get the game devs on. Get content team on. Like, get people invested in the people in the game. And
Yeah, but
I
you have
think
to
you'll
be careful
much,
of that, though, because the more that you come out and say authoritatively as a statement on a public forum like a podcast, you can be held to account for that. And I don't think they want to be overly held to account for stuff like this, especially while it's a new feature, development's still ongoing. If we say it's going to do X and it doesn't deliver within a certain time, they open themselves up for more criticism, liabilities in terms of the purchases and stuff that we've already spoken about tonight. It's difficult for them, unfortunately, until they're 100% sure that it's there and it works as intended to come out and talk about stuff that's new or still being developed, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's what like the playtest sessions that they have with content creators in between seasons are for, to try and gauge reaction to that type of stuff. It's not stuff they're going to put into the public domain, unfortunately.
Yeah. See, Imposters in our chat, he said they had their own show on Twitch, but it was full of people engaging in aggressive, inappropriate way. The community's behavior towards staff lost us the community managers.
I remember what
etc.
they're talking about, and you've also got to do it in a way where it's kind of semi-entertaining, right? Because no one's going to tune into a snore fest with some person who's got no charisma whatsoever, and it just seems like a corporate shill of a conversation. You've got to be informative, kind of entertaining at the same time, to make sure it's something people enjoy, not just like audio version of Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And then those things actually like get into people's heads and stick with them. It's difficult to do. So I don't think it's something we're going to see an awful lot of, but I would like to see a little bit more of it if we could.
And I mean, even on Twitter, there was a person that worked on passing and shooting, and he was kind of proud of himself. And
that was a mistake.
Yep, and he posted like, "I'm proud of what I worked on EAFC," and then he got quote tweeted and retweeted and attacked so hard he deleted his whole Twitter. So that's just what our community does to people. Like, I 100% understood why the community, like, people were seeking out addresses. Like, they were like being so extreme that it was very like, no, seriously, they were.
People are wild, aren't they?
No, seriously,
People are
yeah.
wild
So
on
if they did
Twitter.
a podcast, they'd have to turn off comments and just put out the information they want and turn it off, because the hate is insane. Like, they attack them like they aren't people.
Yeah. I think that's...
And a lot of them mean well. That's the truth. A lot of them that work on the game really care about the game, even if people don't want to say that.
Yeah. And as well, like, let's have it right. If you asked all four of us what the perfect game was, we'd all probably come up with different ideas. So you can never please everybody, can you? You know. But I think what Foot Weekly did were a really good. It's probably the ideal format in it. You're not going to have loads of dickheads on Twitter listening to it and being able to give people grief. There was sort of like not a barrier to entry, but not everyone's going to listen to that. But the people who want to can go out there and listen to it, and it came across well. And like Matt said, it's difficult, isn't it? Like, you can't go hard at these people, or they're just going to back off and go, "Listen, we tried that."
Yeah, you've got to be accommodating.
You definitely do, yeah.
And Foot Weekly did well to keep the standard of that conversation legitimate in terms of raising concerns and challenging them a little bit, whilst getting the key information out that the community needed to hear to understand what's going on. Not easy at all, especially if you harbour any hopes of them coming back and doing it again. You know, if you want to do like an assassination piece where you just make them look bad, okay, but you won't get access to the game anymore in advance, and that relationship breaks down. It served both parties well, I think, and they both got a positive result out of it, which is cool.
Yep. If anybody wants to seek my address, I would just do them one better. I would just ask them for their address instead. See how that goes. What else? What else do we have this week? Anything else you guys wanted to touch on? We've gone for about an hour now. Mostly good. Mostly shit.
I had a really great experience yesterday playing Foot Champs. What about that?
Did you say you had a great
That's
experience
rare.
playing Foot Champs?
Great.
How many drinks
Was
did
this
you
with
have?
Bradford City Evos or?
Some Bradford City Evos in there. I used that new Tonali, Succession Tonali. You were good. I used Yaya Toure. Always great. But I played on Saturday, and it was horrible. Just like so heavy and sluggish. I played yesterday. It was just really fast, really responsive. And yeah, loved it.
Yeah, fair point there from Imposter about the pre-cycle stuff.
Yeah.
Agreed.
What'd you get in your rewards? Anything worth the shit?
I got Baresi from Squad Battles reward. He's worth 120k, which probably covers my losses that I had from yesterday. Buying some cards for a team, didn't get anything much out of Squad Battle, out of Champs rewards. I got this is mad. I got a duplicate Mode Mastery Champs player. And when I got it, I thought, these idiots. But then I realised you can only put one.
Yeah,
one in each section, so I can just put it in my SBC storage. But when it first popped up as a dupe yesterday, I thought, please tell me these idiots hadn't not thought of that. But they had. Credit where it's due.
I know they got a couple of smart people working there for sure.
Yeah.
Got to be.
Yeah.
One thing before we go very quickly, if I may, and this is the most basic of basic trading tips, but you've probably noticed by now that informs are absolutely like bottomed out. They are
Mhm.
worth effectively nothing at the moment. You can buy like 86 rated informs for just above discard for like 10.5k. If you've got a lot of coins in your club and you know you're not going to be using them for anything, just put them all in 86 informs. You're going to need them at some point. You'll be able to sell them for much more than that eventually. And if you do need the coins back, you can just discard them and get them. Just don't leave your coins sitting in the account doing nothing. Make them work for you. But that's the cheapest I've ever seen high rated or relatively high rated informs. Like 10.5k for 86s is just money. Make sure you buy lots of them.
Through
Absolutely.
Thunderstruck, like the amount of informs I've got in my club now is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's gonna be a
just so
slow
many.
bleed. They need
It
to
is,
do more
yeah.
of those like 82 times 14s or something bigger to keep that going.
Yeah.
They were fun.
But they'll still build up.
Yeah, more gamble packs.
Amen, baby. That's what we live for.
Bring them.
Yeah.
Bring them.
That's how you keep the community happy. You just keep giving them the crack, and they'll be fine.
You know what? You know what I was thinking. Small side note on that, because like people are like, "Oh, it's the Icon SBC again." I'm bored of it. Like, I do think EA have to get slightly more creative in just like instead of repeating like an icon pack 7 times and then adding, like Thunderstruck icons in or something. Like, can't they just do one like any Brazilian icon? Like, it will not take much to reinterest our community. Like, can't they just be a slightly creative in terms of doing a one nation, or maybe it's Argentina due to the ones they have out right now, or something super cheap like an 84 squad or 5 squad for an Argentina icon, or I don't know. I just feel like they need to be a little bit more creative and not just a hero and or icon pack. People are getting bored, and it's evident based off how completion looks.
Yeah.
How many times do you think people would get Riquelme in that Argentina?
Oh,
icon pack?
tons, but we would all do it. We would all do it. If there was a Brazil one, I'd do it like 50 times.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Like I aren't really
Rivaldo.
bothered with the Icon Gamble SBCs. Just it's always terrible. But you throw a Brazil one in there, or even an England one. I'm doing it because I want Rio. But I'll do the Brazilian one anyway, just because there's Brazil in it. But yeah, just do something a little bit creative.
Yeah.
Copy
That's
and
all.
paste is not
Random side note.
the one.
Good. Here we go. We're ready for next week now. We just need the gamble. All right. Good chat, boys. Jake, thanks again for stopping by.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, guys. Love chatting with you all.
Good to see you, Jake.
And
Yeah,
that's it. We'll catch you guys next week.
All right. Talk soon, boys.
in a bizzle.
See ya.